দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক RTV নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোনে আপনাদের সঙ্গে আছে আমি সৈয়দ আশিক রহমান। আমাদের আজকের অতিথি বাংলাদেশের জার্মান দূতাবাসের রাষ্ট্রদূত হিজ এক্সেলেন্সি অচিম ট্রস্টার। ভেরি ওয়েলকাম এক্সেলেন্সি at RTV studio.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Rahma, for inviting me. It's a great chance to talk to you. Thank you very much.
That's great. We also honored to have you in our studio. Excellency, you have a high mission to represent the Republic of Germany as ambassador in Bangladesh. Would you please share your experience with us so far?
Well, so far it has been really a great experience for me. I've been posted here in July of the last year, and I have never been in that region. So this is a completely new stage of my life, a completely new...
Oh, you never been in this region?
I have
this
never
first time in this region for you?
It's the first time in this region for me.
So where you been actually early, before to come Bangladesh? What was your early post?
I was mainly posted in Africa. I was twice posted in Africa, in Congo, and the last 4 years I've spent them in a small West African state called Benin, a neighboring country to Nigeria. And then I was several times in southeastern Europe and also in the south of Europe, in Spain.
The Social Democratic Party of Germany won the parliamentary elections. After electing the new chancellor, is there any change in policy for Bangladesh?
No, so far not. One of the main patterns of German foreign policy has always been continuity in our foreign policy. So there are perhaps some slight and minor accents which will be shifted. Of course, every government chooses its own priorities, but in general, it is absolutely clear that Germany will stay a very good partner for Bangladesh, and we'll continue to maintain excellent bilateral relations. And we are celebrating this year 50 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between both our countries, and I can fully assure you that we'll continue on this excellent way like we have done in the past 50 years.
Excellency, Bangladesh and Germany are enjoying excellent bilateral relations. Germany was among the earliest to recognize independent Bangladesh. How do you anticipate these relations developing further in coming days?
I think the last 50 years have been, and I hope also for Bangladesh, at least for Germany, a very successful time. The bilateral relations have been marked by very close cooperation. We're not only celebrating this year the establishment of 50 years ago of diplomatic relations, but also of our development cooperation. Wow. And if I just take a look in the country, that has really amazingly developed, and I'm very proud to represent my country that has perhaps also been able to contribute a bit to that highly impressive development that Bangladesh has made.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. As a developing country making a lot of progress, in your view, what are the challenges for Bangladesh in near future, and what are the opportunities as well?
Well, to start with the opportunities, I think you have a huge advantage, for example, over my country, over Germany. You have a very young population, and what a lot of people call demographic dividend.
Well,
you have it fully. You had the first advantage during the COVID-19 crisis, where Bangladesh performed remarkably well. I think it's also due to the fact that Bangladesh has a very young, and not only dynamic, but a young, with regard to the age population. And I see that the young population is very prone and very interested in education, in making the best of its life. The dynamics in this country have really highly impressed me. I was not expecting it in this way. And I think with a young population that really wants to bring the country forward, Bangladesh has really great chances in continuing on the way. On the other hand, the challenges, of course, they are clear. Bangladesh has made big strides in developing. It is not any longer a least developed country any longer. But all the experts, I talk with the development experts, and so they say that the challenges do not become smaller. So I think the country and the government and the population has to be prepared that the efforts may not dwindle.
Well,
the next steps will not be easier, and if I may allude to commerce relations with Germany and with the European Union, when Bangladesh will have left in 2026 the status, will have graduated status of least developed country, then it will negotiate with the European Union customs reductions and facilitation, and they will be not easier than what the country had to overcome now. So this will be a challenge. It is a bit demanding because well, a grown-up and not any longer least developed country has to set other benchmarks and has to overcome other benchmarks. So this will be a challenge. But I'm absolutely optimistic that with this dynamism and these relentless efforts that Bangladesh has shown so far, you will also overcome these challenges, of course.
Thank you for your nice comments, and I appreciate it for being optimistic. Then, Excellency, how many German companies are operating in Bangladesh, and what is the investment volume? In your view, what more does Bangladesh need to do to attract more investment from Germany?
Well, so far, around 60 companies are operating in the country. And 60 companies. Around 60 companies. They're active here. Well, of course, Bangladesh, the Bangladesh economy is cooperating with much more enterprises in Germany, but we are talking about the German enterprises that are here on the ground. And the investment volume over the whole time span is at around 516 million US dollars. In the last year, it was only 4 million. So, ask me what can be done to further expand this. I think in general, the conditions for foreign investment have to be made or should be made according to the expectations of the entrepreneur a bit more easy. I hear from entrepreneurs that bureaucracy is an issue. That it's indispensable to have really expert help to be able to address all the relevant authorities. So I think if these bureaucratic procedures could be facilitated, and this is a phenomenon that is not only to be witnessed in Bangladesh. I've been to other countries where we have been talking exactly about the same. I think this is, for example, one of the hurdles that have to be overcome. And I think also the possibilities to retransfer your profits, at least to a given extent, to your home country is always an issue for entrepreneurs. That's fully clear. And on the other hand, everybody who wants to invest here, he needs security, he needs safety. So that means transparency and so sort of sustainability in the measure. So he has to be sure that the economic ambience doesn't change all of a sudden. So he needs to have transparency and security for his investment. And perhaps the last point, that is education, skilled labor force. Because
very good point.
I think that's a point. But where Bangladesh, with its highly young and highly dynamic population, can very well deliver because the people are here. They want to do something. They want to learn, and I think it's a request for good governance to set up the structures to make this possible.
That's great. The German government is one of the long-standing development partners of Bangladesh. At this moment, what are the development priorities in Bangladesh?
Well, we have overall three bigger priorities. First one is energy and climate. The second one is peaceful and sustainable society. And the third one is training and sustainable growth for decent jobs. So these are the main three areas, but the whole portfolio is rather sophisticated. But these three are the three bigger priorities of our cooperation.
Well, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Bangladesh suffered lots of FDI. What do you think about German investment in Bangladesh?
I think that comes back to the question we have just discussed with regard to FDI. I think that is not that much COVID related to Germany. I think it is really a challenge and also a task for the Bangladesh. For the good governance and for the authorities that are responsible for the promotion of foreign direct investment to explain to German entrepreneurs, and they're always looking for good opportunities, to explain the comparative advantages of Bangladesh.
So, do you think a special economic zone can be accelerated?
I think this can be one of the elements, but I think for entrepreneurs that come from a country like Germany with a different culture, different entrepreneurial culture, but also with a different law system, it is of primordial importance to have security with regard to all the regulation and to have clear and easy procedures. I think that is the most important. But I know there's some interest. In 2019, there was a delegation of German entrepreneurs coming to Bangladesh. Unfortunately, their undertakings were a bit or came a bit to the halt because of the COVID pandemics. But I've heard from one of the bigger associations of German entrepreneurs that are doing business with that region that they're highly interested in coming back to Bangladesh to further explore possibility. I very much hope that this can still take place. It was scheduled for spring of this year.
Do you think there are complications on regulations?
I cannot tell you what. I'm just Avi here. More of the details with regulation. That is clear. But I can only say the challenge for the authorities is to translate the general interest that is here in really concrete investment. But I know that a general will to cooperate more closely together with Bangladesh is there, of course.
Excellency, there are more issues like trade priority, climate changes, and scholarship schemes options for Bangladeshi students. We'll be on these after a short break. দর্শক দেখছেন আন্তর্জাতিক সম্পর্ক উন্নয়ন বিষয়ক আরটিভি নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোন। এই পর্যায়ে নিচ্ছি বিরতি, ফিরছি একটু পরে, সাথেই থাকুন। দর্শক আবারও আমন্ত্রণ ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোনে। আজ কথা বলছিলাম বাংলাদেশের জার্মান দূতাবাসের রাষ্ট্রদূত হিজ এক্সেলেন্সি অচিম ট্রস্টারের সঙ্গে। ওয়েলকাম এগেইন মিস্টার অ্যাম্বাসেডর at RTV Studio. Excellency Ambassador, what is your opinion about the major achievements of Bangladesh and also of the needed priority?
Well, that's a very difficult question, and it's near to interference in internal affairs. But of course, if you ask me as an observer with a lot of sympathy for what is going on in Bangladesh, with regard to trade, I hear from a lot of experts that the Bangladesh industry has to diversify much more. If I'm correctly informed, about 80% of your exports are based on the garment industry, and I'm very happy to represent a country that is the second worldwide importer of cloth and garment that have been produced in Bangladesh. And I might also underscore that it's mainly high quality garments. But I think all the economists and analysts who are accompanying Bangladesh for a long time, they say that in order to reach more sustainable growth, and mainly in the phase after graduation, you make your economy, your export, and also the state budget mainly relies on the earnings of the export. You make it more sustainable, more let me say attack or pandemic proof, because unfortunately maybe pandemic of COVID-19 may not be the last one to give shocks to our society. So I think this is perhaps the biggest challenge for the year.
Would you please mention on special achievements of Bangladesh?
Well, so far the production in the garment industry is, of course, and I think will stay the main pillar. And I think also products leather related, they are very successful. I've been informed, but I'm after several months not yet an expert, that also your pharmaceutical industry is quite pharmaceutical industry is quite competitive, and I've heard about entrepreneurs from Bangladesh seeking contacts with Germany. I can imagine that this could be a field for successful and further cooperation. But also perhaps with regard to e-mobility, I've been informed that the government of Bangladesh has drawn up some concepts to promote and to further e-mobility. And I have just yesterday signed an agreement in the area of development cooperation with the ARD from the Finance Ministry, where we promote through the GIZ the introduction of e-mobility. I think that this is also a field where Bangladesh could prosper as much as in other fields.
Excellency, every year a large number of Bangladeshi students are going to Germany for higher study. Would you please share any thoughts with our young generation on this opportunity?
First of all, as a representative of Germany, I'm very proud that such a high number of Bangladeshi students, of young people who are very open, who want to discover the world, are interested in my country. And as somebody who has spent nearly 2/3 of his professional life abroad, I can only say share this fascinating perspective. It is always a great experience to learn other people, to get to know other people, to learn from other cultures. And so I can, as a general rule, only encourage Bangladeshi students to go abroad and also to Germany. But with regard to Germany, given the current situation, where I would not deny it, where there's a problem in issuing visa, I would encourage mainly interested students planning long time in advance their stay.
In advance?
In long time in advance, and I very much regret to say this, but in the middle term, I don't see that the waiting time for visa can be significantly reduced. It's simply due to capacity. It has nothing to do with decisions of the ambassador. If it was over upon me, that would be within 4 weeks. But it's simply due to the huge demand, which is honoring us, but to the capacities in the consulate that have not hold pace with that. Another encouragement or another advice, if I may so, I would like to give to you young people is prepare well for the stay, also linguistically. I sometimes, together with the colleagues, have the impression that, and mainly the students apply for studies that are carried out in English, may perhaps not really be appropriate for that. So I think the success of the studies in Germany will also depend on your linguistic capability.
I hope it will be helpful for students who wants to go for higher education in Germany. Mr. Ambassador, most of the cases Bangladesh and other third world countries are suffering from climate changes. Do you think developed countries compensate the developing countries?
Well, you know that there's a long and very thorough discussion going on for a long time also in my country. Civil society is discussing this issue with a lot of seriosity, and I may perhaps remind that we have now a government that has put the absolute priority on climate protection, on adaptation to climate, and this is also a priority in our foreign policy, because the foreign ministry is now responsible for our stand and our position, our negotiations with regard to climate policy. And I'm very happy that my country, also under the former government, is very sensible to these issues. And that's why my country is one of the biggest contributors to the Green Climate Fund. We have given so far until 23 1.5 billion euro into this fund, and I'm quite sure that also in the future we will assume our responsibilities with that.
Thank you. Bilateral cooperation with a powerful neighbor like India and cooperation with the region is also high on the agenda of the Bangladesh government. What is your assessment of this cooperation?
Well, I think drawing up upon the experience that we have made in Germany, in Europe after the Second World War, we think that regional cooperation, but not only politically, but also economically, is of absolutely primordial importance. It is one of the guarantors of political stability, but also for the economic well-being. A large part of our commerce we have in the EU itself. And when I see at the figures, the regional commerce here has some space for improvement, if I'm correctly informed. And with regard to political cooperation, well, we in Europe, we have guaranteed peace, at least among the members of the European Union for decades. And we think that also other regions can at least partly draw up at least on some of the experience we have, and that some of the things that we have experienced may use also as a model for other regions. And that's why in general we are very much supportive of regional cooperation. From our point of view, we think it's a matter of survival of a state, of course.
Well, but cooperation under which sentiment?
Well, we think in Europe the first issues were about maintaining the peace. We started with economy, but political stability is, I think, the foundation of everyday life, also of a prosperous economy. And that's why we in Europe we have different organizations which also look to also be beyond the EU, like the Organization for Security Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, that involve a lot of actors, and we try to, and so far successfully, we try to maintain a balance. We try to maintain peace in Europe, and when there are problems, we try to settle them peacefully, like we all subscribe to in the Charter of the United Nations. So this is the political aspect, which also englobes military aspects, because OSCE is about security cooperation. It was a project of the Cold War, but there is still its prominent role. So there are a lot of aspects in the field of politics and international law and security politics and military cooperation that can be dealt with in regional institutions.
Thank you, Excellency, for the clarification. Mr. Ambassador, can you please share any success story through your last country program and new program planning? Okay,
my last country where I had the honor to serve as an ambassador was Benin, and I think we have a highly successful and also long-standing cooperation also in different areas. Just to name agriculture, we were very successful in helping the authorities of Benin in fostering and strengthening the chain values in agriculture. Well, this was a very multifaceted approach, from helping to build roads so the peasant could bring their products to the market, but also to make the institutions of agriculture fit for export. Because it's not only about producing some delicious food. For instance, if you want to export to the European Union, it also has to adapt to certain criteria. And that's where we could be helpful. And the other successful, let me say, event was that I could witness that we started the cooperation in vocational training.
Vocational
because
training.
It was like it's in Bangladesh, also the wish of the Beninese government, and we could contribute to, let me say, assume also our responsibility in that area, and we have started a cooperation in that field also.
Fantastic. I believe that there is lots of area to work with vocational training in Bangladesh, here in Bangladesh also.
Yes, we do already. I've already mentioned that we are active in the area of training, mainly in the garment sector, in the textile sector. But it depends on the concrete wishes of the Bangladeshi government. To see where Germany possibly could also be helpful. I cannot anticipate anything. I'm happy that we'll have very soon, I think, the next consultations and perhaps also negotiations on our priorities. And I think the government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh will approach us with what they expect from us. And I know that people back in Berlin are already thinking about what Germany can offer to be helpful.
We also hope for the betterment. Excellency, we are at the end of the program. Any final thoughts you want to share with our viewers?
Yes, of course. I come back a bit to what I've stated in the beginning. I'm absolutely happy to be here. It's an amazing place. The good thing is that there are still 3.5 years left for me. And if they will be only half as interesting and fascinating as the last 6 months I've spent, it will be an absolutely incomparable time. And I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Excellency, Mr. Achim Troster. Thanks very much for joining at Diplomatic Zone. I look forward to meet with you on the another discussions in any other day.
With great pleasure. It's upon me to thank you, and thank you mainly for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself to your public. It was a great experience for me. Thank you very much.
দর্শক, জার্মানি বাংলাদেশের ঘনিষ্ঠ সহযোগী বন্ধু। দুই দেশের মধ্যে রয়েছে দীর্ঘ 4.5 দশকেরও বেশি সময়ের সম্পর্ক। জার্মানির উন্নয়ন সহযোগিতা প্রাপ্তির দিক থেকে 29তম অবস্থানে রয়েছে বাংলাদেশ। ইউরোপে বাংলাদেশের সবচেয়ে বড় ব্যবসায়িক সহযোগী দেশ জার্মানি। এরই প্রেক্ষিতে গেল 1.5 দশকে দেশটির সাথে বাংলাদেশের বাণিজ্য সুবিধা বেড়েছে উল্লেখযোগ্য হারে। এছাড়া বিকাশমান অর্থনীতির বাজার হিসেবে বাংলাদেশের চাহিদার কথা বলেছেন মাননীয় রাষ্ট্রদূত অচিম ট্রোস্টার। আসছে সময়ে বাণিজ্য বৃদ্ধি সহ সহযোগিতার এই ক্ষেত্র আরও প্রসারিত হোক, সেই প্রত্যাশায় শেষ করছি আজকের ডিপ্লোম্যাটিক জোন। এতক্ষণ আমাদের সঙ্গে থাকার জন্য ধন্যবাদ সবাইকে।